Example 4. They already drew the picture for you, and I think that's kind of doing you a disservice. I think it's worth your while to imagine redrawing the picture. Okay? On a test or a quiz, you wouldn't have the picture drawn for you. So let's just imagine what it would be like if we redrew the picture. The ship leaves port on a bearing of 28 degrees. Okay? Remember, bearing is talking about what direction you're traveling, and bearing is clockwise from north. Okay? And so in order to draw this picture, you would have to kind of start with a north-south line right here, and they say, okay, well, 28 degrees clockwise from north puts us along this line right here. So here is this vector. And so block out everything else. We've got a north-south line. We drew that 28 degrees from north, and it's traveled 8.2 miles. Okay, so 8.2 miles right there. So what I've drawn in over top of it is really all we would see. If you were drawing it, it would look something like this at this point. Okay, that's all you would have at this point. Then the ship turns due east, so it's going to start going due east. That's that way, right? Okay, north, east, south, and west. It travels due east for 4.3 miles. Okay, so let's use their picture. Due east, 4.3 miles. Okay. How far is the ship from port? Okay, so on their picture, they have this angle on here, but you have no idea where it came from. That's kind of the hard thing, I guess. That's kind of what we'll have to do geometrically. And so, using geometry, what we would do really is extend this line over until it crossed. And you would see a right triangle here. Okay? This is a 90-degree angle, and of course we already had the 28-degree angle. And so in order to find that, this angle, we could say 180 minus 90 minus 28. And so what is that? $62. So this is 62. And so then at that point, we could find this angle is 180 minus 62, and there's where the 118 came from. Okay? It's kind of difficult. You've got to use some things that you would know from geometry. But look at what we got. Okay? We've got a triangle. And that's the whole ballgame. That's what we're always going to be looking for, is some kind of triangle. And what does the temple runner see inside this triangle? Side, angle, side. We see a side and an angle and a side. And so SAS we know is case 3. Case 3, law of cosines. And so when it asks, how far is the ship from port, they're asking about this distance right here. Okay, here was port, and here's where the ship is now, after traveling at a bearing of 28 degrees and then turning due east. And so they're asking you for this distance. This looks like law of cosines. And so we should be able to find that x, especially since it's across from the 118. Law of cosines is going to set up that partnership between x and the 118-degree angle. So we would have x squared equals 8.2 squared plus 4.3 squared minus 2 times 8.2 times 4.3 cosine 118. So we're going to have okay, and so x squared is about 118.8. Square root both sides. The square root of that answer, about 10.9. Okay, X, or side A, I guess, of that triangle is about 10.9 miles. How far from port? Look back at the picture. How far from port? We are about 10.9 miles from port. Okay? Now, what is the bearing from port? Okay? Bearing. Again, you need to know what bearing is. Bearing is the direction, clockwise from north. And so if you think about bearing, clockwise from north, it's going to be this angle right here. Okay? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to find this angle and then add 28. Okay? So we're operating within a triangle, and we're going to know a lot of things about a triangle. Okay? We're going to be able to use the law of sines in order to find this angle theta. So we've already got this partnership here between x and 118, but now we're going to establish a partnership between that theta and that 4.3. We ought to be able to find that theta anyway using law of sines. Sine theta over 4.3 is going to equal sine 118 over 10.9. And so multiply both sides by 4.3, we're trying to isolate theta. We're going to have 4.3 sine 118 divided by 10.9. Sine theta is 0.3483, about. We need to do the inverse sine of that answer. We get 20.3, 20.4. Theta is 20.4 degrees. Now, notice that's not the answer. As what we have just found is this piece right there. If we want to find the bearing, meaning the angle clockwise from north, that angle is going to be 28 plus 20.4. The bearing is 48.4 degrees. 48.4 degrees clockwise from north.